that this is very, very important to develop this ability to not resist our energetic emotional experience and to feel it consciously without much embroidery while being present. This is very hard, very advanced, and we are never taught. There's a whole mental health thing and new agey thing around doing million of stuff that are good to not feel bad. Yoga, chiropractic, breath work, chanting, mantras, praying, blue light, meditation, Kundalini, supplements, which all of them are good in themselves and they can be useful. They have a function, but it's very tricky to use some of these things to not feel bad, to make that go away. So it's a lot of whole industry on learning how to self-regulate, which it's important to have skills to self-regulate. Actually, it's good to have some ability when it's too much, but then it's just about self-regulating. We never get to allow these feelings. So then we are at odds with them. We are at odds with ourselves. We are afraid of them. They are creating a lot of problems. And all that we've done so far about the deficiency story and this or that, this is very good. But this is what we've done now. This is a deeper, very essential level. If one can actually get this, learn gradually, it's a gradual thing. To really, when there's unpleasantness, instead of smoking, going on the internet, or any good practices, to just drop in and be very present and allow it without embroidery. And we experience this, that it's unpleasant, but somehow it's safe. And this safety needs to develop, because for some people, they are not used to it. Something strong comes and they really feel very unsafe and they can't do it. So, it helps also to work with someone initially, but ultimately a lot of our healing, or some of us are interested in transcending the sense of being a separate person and going in a knowing reality and God and transcendental stuff. Basically, you can't go there without facing some really nasty, painful energies. So this is very important. Never taught. Big topic. And it opens into this area of suppression and repression, which is hard to tackle in a group work like this, because to any of those feelings, we might have had some resistance. And then that whole resistance, like, no, that's in a whole world in itself. If there is such resistance, we can't say, well, come on, don't resist it, because it doesn't work like that. We practiced, and my father resisted these feelings all his life, and everybody all the time. So there is this area of repression work. And here it's interesting for you to note if there was something around some feeling like, or checking out about something, or going into imagination. Yeah, there's a whole world about this, gradually, skillfully meeting this resistance without resisting the resistance. Yeah. Any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I'll add a little bit. Yeah, Mihai mentioned a lot of our strategies for avoiding feeling, right? Okay, drinking or smoking or the TV or the porn or, you know, whatever, or overworking or even meditating, like, I don't want to feel this, so I'm gonna dissociate the meditation, whatever it is for you. It's not always like, it's not blatantly apparent that there's even, most of the time, that there's even something here that I don't want to feel. Like, this stuff is happening very unconsciously. There's kind of just an impulse. We kind of skip over it a lot of the times and we just go to the thing that's gonna like fill that void. So I just wanted to clarify on that. That's why I think this work is even especially more important, to get really intentional about going into, you know, if you did find that, to take the time to explore your relationship to anger, explore your relationship to grief. Because it doesn't just, these things aren't just going to show up, like the avoidance of feeling is pretty deeply rooted in the human experience. And then the other thing I wanted to say is just about this topic of resistance. So, you know, first we realize that we're resisting something, like it's not okay for me to be angry or to express anger. Or even sometimes it's just this terrible feeling, you know, in my heart. I don't want to feel this. And we notice there's resistance there. And then we can get caught in this loop of like, I'm not supposed to resist. Oh, there's resistance. I'm not supposed to resist. And then we're resisting the resistance, and it's infinitely resisting itself. So you can, you know, just at that first layer of resistance, that's where you have to be like, okay, this is here and it's totally okay. And resistance is actually a form of love and self-protection. So it's important to see it as that, right? It's like for a good portion of our lives, it was like how we survived. It was how we coped. It was how we showed up in relationship. Like, I had to control this, or I had to shut this thing down. So it was, and sometimes, you know, it seems to be self-serving and helpful. So we don't want to demonize it. We don't want to make it bad. We don't even want to give it, you know, kind of have to befriend it and treat it as that way and see it as really a form of self-love. So when you approach it in that way, it's amazing that that sensation or that contraction gets to kind of melt and dissolve, because it's like, oh God, you finally recognize what I've been trying to do for you all of these years. Whew, maybe I don't have to do that anymore, and it lets go. And then that becomes a practice, because it will continue to arise. But the more you can have this, more loving, welcoming, compassionate relationship with your resistance, instead of making it the enemy, that is extremely helpful.
So if at those inquiries, I'm not sad or I'm not angry, came a just energy or contraction. There wasn't anger, but there was a contraction.
Yeah.
This means that I am angry, but it is suppressed. It's frozen. And it's a contraction.
Yeah.
So this emotional suppression and repression can be detected through contractions in the body. Then we think we have to go to a doctor and all that. And it's good to check a doctor if you have something. But my experience, a lot of contractions and tensions and stuff that you try to go for energy healer and to balance. I'm afraid to feel this subconsciously. Another way to identify them, basically. So now this is because we are rejecting life subconsciously. We are doing it subconsciously. Nobody taught us. We're not bad for that. I mean, my father was the communists in the, I don't know, 50s, 60s. Nobody taught him. Life was really hard. Terrible stuff happened to him. And he needed to be a father and take care of and fucking survive and be strong. And so his consciousness just pushed everything down to survive, to be a good father. Didn't have tools. There's no psychotherapy. There's nothing. So you see, it was out of love and survival. And then he died suddenly of a heart attack.
Saying ultimately he had a heart attack.
With a heart attack, yeah.
Yeah.
So another way is that our addictions and compulsions, actually the deeper root, I mean, of course, can be habit, can be physiological, but a deeper root is this fear of feeling and avoidance of this. Chronic pain also, some people, it gets into chronic pain. It really becomes, it seems like serious, this is really physical, man. No feeling about it. I'm okay, no problem, my life is good, but like chronic pain, that, I mean, there are a lot of studies about this, and Dr. Sarno and some of the work of Scott Willoughby, and there's a lot now, so that is interesting, and I verify that. Anyway, this is just more like, some of you already know this a little bit. I just want to put it out here so you all know. This can be done just from some group processing, but we needed to bring this up because otherwise we're just dancing around what's the most difficult thing. And also, I did want to give credit to, you know, this type of vulnerability inquiry. Also, when we taught reverse inquiry a few weeks ago, although this method appears, this kind of throwing some probe to see what comes up, appears in other modalities like Hakomi, this was developed very precisely by Scott Willoughby, this reverse inquiry, vulnerability inquiry, some of this repression work. So I want to give credit to that. And there's a lot of information. He specializes on that.